India's EV adoption has finally moved on from early adopters to hopefully the mass market adoption phase, and Punch EV is going to be a really important pillar in that adoption and inception. We have with us Vivek Srivatsa, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at Tata Motors. So let's get right into it. You've taken a huge plunge. Just 1% of the sub 12 lakh market is what the EV penetration stands today. It's a huge challenge that you've sort of gotten yourselves into. Why this segment, and how much of a challenge was getting this product ready?
So why this segment? I think like we've said, we can't mainstream EV without getting the first time car buyer to seriously look at EVs. So far, people who could afford it as a second car, or who could kind of indulge themselves, have gone for EVs. Most of them about 12 lakh. So that is really the objective, to push towards more EV electric penetration into the market. You have to get into the first time car buyer. The challenges are huge, like you saw, fundamental problems with the first time car buyer. What will happen to my range, what will happen to my battery, and you can explain all you want to these customers, but unless you really show it to them in the flesh and blood, or in a hardware form, they will not understand.
Yeah.
And right from the time we launched Punched 2 years back and been seeing its development, it was clear for us that Punch will be the car which really will make sense to these first time car buyers. So hence we answered with a larger battery, with more real world range. More importantly, the lifetime warranty. We gave 8 years warranty right from the Nexon in 2020, but people understood it as 8 years was the life of the battery, and there was a lot of misconceptions. We have tried to educate customers saying 8 years is the warranty, lifetime is much more, but sometimes some ideas just get set. So we thought, let's get out of trying to explain to customers. We will, but the best way, like I said, is to show them that we have much more confidence in the battery, and it can last much more. For when lifetime we call, but it's actually 15 years. 15 years is the life. Third most important is the faster charging. You can give a larger battery, but if charging is slow, practical intercity use is never there. So that's why this particular 15-minute charge, Indians stop for a chai, right? That with a chai they should be able to cover a distance of 500 kilometers, and that was what we had in our mind. So now with about 80% SOC, when they start, you travel 200, 250 kilometers, you have a tea, then you're ready to cover the next 250 kilometers. So it becomes a complete package. Plus Punch itself, the kind of product it is, small SUV, yet roomy on the inside. It's a no-brainer for a first-time car buyer. So many questions answered, and that was a challenge.
Lovely. And also this segment is obviously more value conscious, and you've tried to address that with really aggressive price points. But tell me something. Last time we spoke, you were talking about how 70% of Punch buyers are actually first time buyers. How much do you expect the EV penetration to be out of that?
Out of Punch, or in the first time buyers?
Yeah.
So hopefully, first time buyers in Punch EV were about 25-30%. Hopefully it should go north of 50% now with the repositioning and the repricing. We'll be happy if about 50 to 60% of Punch buyers are first time car buyers.
Okay. Tell me something. You were talking about first time buyers. It got me thinking that you also have EVs in other segments, like what we call the entry level segments, like Tigor and Tiago and Tigor. Tigor is obviously for the fleet segment, but Tiago. So how do you sort of differentiate that? Why did you not call that the first time category?
So I mean, there are different roles for each product in the portfolio. We have to manage a portfolio. Firstly is, whatever you do to any product, there's going to be an impact on the peripheral products. And when you run a portfolio, it is a good thing also, but also a negative, and we have to learn to live with that. There will be some cross consideration, there will be some crisscross happening, but the bigger picture is overall volume growth. And in EV, we are always focused on overall growth. If we give customers the solutions, as long as overall EV penetration grows, we are happy. Coming specifically to Tiago, we want to position it as a ideal city runabout. You don't have a specialist city runabout right now which ticks all the boxes. What are the boxes? Good 4-seater, safe car, comfortable to travel, at the same time, affordable. It is something that we will start addressing in the future. But if you want to really become mass market, like I said, first time car buyers in India want versatility. They want one car to do everything.
Yeah.
And in that case, Punch is the ideal solution, because India's love with SUVs and Indian roads and all that, they need that robustness as well. So that's why the roles of different products in our portfolio has to be sharp and different from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously EV adoption responsibility, like you're also working on charging infrastructure, that sits on the market leader. So
Yeah.
obviously, is that a big challenge at this point? You've worked with range, but for this segment of buyers, is charge anxiety, proliferation of charging, that anxiety, is that still a problem?
It is a problem, I would say, and I always equate mobile charge, electric vehicle charging system with the mobile network. You are never happy with the mobile network. You will always find a spot where you don't get enough network and get very upset at your, service provider. It's the same with EVs as well. Even, it'll never be enough. It'll always be one spot where there's a bit of dissatisfaction. Having said that, the digitization of the entire charging network, ability to discover all the chargers on the app, and you don't need to visually search for them, you can search it on the app. We also have options like you can plan a journey, and the app itself throws options to you on which are the places you can charge, plus the verification that we have done. We have Tata.ev verified chargers where you go with a lot of confidence saying that this is a charger which will work for me. 96% success rate is what we are talking about. Otherwise, the biggest pain point for EV buyers was they decide to go to a charger, they go there and then it's not working,
Yeah.
or they have to wait till somebody else finishes their charging. That's a big pain point.
That gives a bad rep to the industry.
Exactly. Whereas now you can see on the app, if it's up, if what is its uptime, is it up and running now, is somebody else charging on it, all this is visible. So it just becomes a lot more easier to plan your trip. And customers, once they come on board on to the EV ownership, then they discover all this.
Yeah.
Before that, it's always a little bit of a mystery. So it's important for us to entice them and get them on board, and then they realize within 2 months they are changed creatures. They feel, oh, now I know exactly how to drive my EV, I have no problem. That is what the verbatim we hear.
Right.
So it is that initial plunge that we have to motivate them to take.
Yeah, that's what they say. Once you've switched, you can't switch back.
Absolutely.
So I've heard a lot of customers say that, a lot of industry veterans who have
It's happened to me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. So before this, Nexon EV was like the mass market EV, so to say. But then obviously you're wanting to get this to a more entry level segment. So does this have the potential in terms of volumes to sort of overtake what Nexon has done for you?
I don't know, we're not creating competition for Nexon, but in the ICE world, we sell Nexon and Punch Almond at the same level.
Yeah.
Now, especially after the Punch MC, the demand is equal and fairly high demand. Nexon has not gone down after we updated the Punch. So I think it will be the same here. Nexon gives a more comprehensive ownership experience, slightly larger battery pack, more, I would say, it is by default the default EV of the country as well, because it was the first EV. So there's a different kind of customer who goes for that. But we definitely need to pick up the volumes of the Punch, and we are optimistic. I think if we are able to pull enough first-time car buyers, I would estimate anything between 30 to 50% increase in the volume of Punch.
Right,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
This also comes in a variety of powertrains. You've also launched CNG.
Yeah.
What is going to be your powertrain strategy? Because as I see it, you're obviously offering a lot of different powertrain options to the customers with different segmentation. But how is that going to play out in the long term for an overall portfolio level?
See, our belief is that customer buys a car, primarily he likes the product brand, then he likes the design of the car. Third, they like the roominess or the interior design. Fourth, the features. A customer goes through this journey and then he is told that, listen, you can get it only in this powertrain. Then it causes a lot of disappointment with the customer, and also it's a lost opportunity for brands. So that's how we look at it, and then we give them so much options in terms of variants and grade walk. Let us also offer powertrain options. And today India is a unique country where any powertrain has a good market. It's not skewed towards one fuel. Petrol, there's a market. Diesel market is growing, CNG is picking up, EV is achieved 5% penetration. So we are fortunate where every fuel option has a fairly good volume behind it. So why should we deny customers? Is the way we think about it.
Right.
Your question on how we are looking at it as a future is, I think we'll focus on all the four. Today there is no I would say focus preference of the customer towards any of these fuels, nor is there any clear direction that the government want us to go. Uh, all of us are ready to sell or manufacture any kind of powertrain, any kind of fuel option. So we will continue that way, try to proliferate the powertrain options across all the products. We have Punch now with EV, ICE, CNG. Nexon has even diesel in it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sierra. Sierra has 2 petrols, 1 diesel. It'll soon get the EV as well. Harrier has EV, ICE, EV, diesel and petrol. So you're right, we are kind of getting that policy across all our products.
Yeah, and I think you're the only player who's doing it in such a meticulous manner, in such an upgraded manner. So
it needs investment, but we are putting the investment into it. Yeah,
true. Also, there's a very clear division between EV buyers right now. Like for example, this has a similar top hat as compared to ICE, and then there are some very radical designs which are also seeing some kind of a preference. Like, where do you stand in at some, because you've born electric, or like newer architecture and newer designs? Is that going to be the future for a radical EV buyer, or this is going to where the market will stabilize?
I think it's a combination of both. Honestly, as the EV market develops, there will be different kind of customers coming in, each of whom will have different preferences. We have gone now the route where we are giving customers body style choices which are already liked. We don't want to take a chance on that. We made substantial differences in the platform. With the active, we have substantially changed the floor, the software architectures and all that, but made a decision to keep the top the same. There are other manufacturers who have done exactly the opposite, where in the subframe is the same, but everything else is different. So I think market will expand in all directions. There will be people who will seek radical designs, radical concepts. There will be people who will go with the familiar. But right now, if you see the mix of EV sales in the country, most people are going with the safe body style option. They rather buy something which is seen, already accepted in terms of body style, because I think EV buying itself, there is an element of risk, right? And on top of that, if you want to layer a body style or design risk, it becomes too much. New powertrain and new body style and new design philosophy, it becomes a bit too much. So right now we are going this direction, but we are, if the demand is strong enough, or consumer mindset is moving in the other direction in terms of radicalization, we can move that side as well.
But right now, no pressure on, because in the middle we saw market share blip because of these new radical designs, as we call it. Now it's obviously stabilized, but then how do you plan to sustain and hold on to that leadership position?
I think, if you see in the last 2-3 months, our market share has actually started going up again. In Jan, we were at 46.3. I think, market share we are not really focused, first of all, on market share. Like I said, our primary objective is to grow the industry, and if the industry grows, the market leader grows, right? So our focus has always been in that direction, right from the time we were selling only 100 cars a month to now we are selling close to 10,000 cars, So that philosophy will not change. But having said that, we have to always keep our fundamentals right. What are the fundamentals? Provide powertrain, or rather battery size options, create different products for different use cases, have a wider portfolio. So these are things which we are going to focus on independently. We are not one product player who tries to be opportunistic and get volumes, but is it going to be sustainable for a long time is a question mark. We have seen, of course, market share, it's a mathematical outcome, right? Market share, whenever somebody comes, everybody else loses market share. But over a quarter or over a year, you should see which players are coming back in terms of market share, how the customer demand comes back is what I would focus on as a dominant player. Yeah.
And this is obviously helping you gain that, because if it works in the mass market, then nothing like
Exactly.
it.
We have this. Our market share is already on the way up. Nexon is doing very well with the 45 kilowatt. Harrier, you know, already there's a huge demand and waiting period. We have this coming. Then we have the Sierra EV coming very soon. And then, of course, we have the Tiago as well. So I think we are optimistic to get back to dominant market share. Dominant, but like I said, that is not our priority. Our priority is to widen our portfolio so that more and more customers come into the EV ownership experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So your other product portfolio products will also see BAS options, because this is only for the entry level segment at this
Yeah.
point.
So see, BAS is something. I mean, we call it BAS, but it's actually a financial product, right? It just helps customers to stretch their EMI for a longer period,
Yeah.
which reduces the monthly
Payload.
stress payload
Yeah.
for them. And this is most relevant to entry buyer who's really stretching their budget, right? So we will limit BAS to our entry offerings only.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's
And
very.
I mean, we know data that it's limited in terms of its appeal.
Yeah.
Very few takers. So I mean, we just have given it so that all bases are covered, and
Good
we
to
are
have
not good to
option.
have options for everybody, especially when we are talking about first-time car buyer. We have to give this as well to enable them to come into the EV portfolio. Yeah. Yeah.
Lastly,
Yeah.
EV servicing, and there have been concerns about servicing. Where do you find service centers? Are there trained people
Yeah.
who you'll find in these service centers? That's always been a concern, and one of the things that bothers this
Yeah.
segment a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So how are you addressing that?
See, to be honest, we acknowledge that we have been one of the fastest growing in terms of sales for the last 5 years. Our growth of service base and service bandwidth has not grown as fast as our sales. This was for the first 3-4 years, 2020 to 2023, 24. But now we have started acting very strongly for the last year and a half. What have we done? We are continuing to add a lot of service base, so that our ability to service more and more cars goes up. But base alone doesn't make service centers. The biggest challenge in service is to get good technicians who are able to work on the ground. So we are recruiting a lot of technicians, but earlier we used to allow them to start working with minimal training and they learn on the job. But now we have opened out regional training centers across the country. As soon as recruitment happens, these people go to the training center, get trained, and then come on. So they hit the ground running, and you will start seeing, because of that, well-educated, trained manpower coming in and manpower going up. You will start seeing the quality of service going up, turnaround, of cars as well going up. Second big problem we had was also spare part availability, logistic issues. From COVID onwards, component supplies has always been a little up and down, and it obviously hits service. When you want to prioritize ramp up of production, service, I would say, logistics suffers.
Yeah.
Now we have spare part warehouses across the country, and in many cases it is just in time available for the service centers. So spare part availability is not going to delay service delivery at all henceforth. So a combination of all these is going to be visible to customers very soon, and these are across ICE and EV that we are talking about. EV in NCR, in Kerala, we already have Tata.ev exclusive service centers. These are doing very well. So anybody in NCR can also access these service centers. So the big philosophy, I'll go so far to say that, is from being seen as a company who's not able to provide the most responsive service, we want to move to the other side and make it a strong point. Hopefully you will see it in the next 1 year. Service perception doesn't change overnight.
Yeah.
We are doing the hard yards and putting the work in place, and maybe after 1 year you'll have a better opinion.
Sure, sure. On that very, very positive note, all the best, and all the best for the blockbuster opening for the Punch EV.
Thank you, Prerna. Yeah.